Alrighty guys, so this video is about how to do wingovers on a paramotor. So it's going to be slightly difficult to explain because there's a lot of feel involved and it's kind of hard to explain that feeling, obviously, just over video. But I will do my best, and what I want you to kind of realize is this is something you should definitely, if you're going to practice, kind of build up to it. However, I will say, if you start to commit to some of these things, you have to stay committed. You can't chicken out halfway through. If you get a bunch of energy going because you're diving into your wingover and then you're coming up for your next one, you have to commit to that next one, or else you have to bleed off all your energy in a turn. Otherwise, if you just come through and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, you could pitch really far back, and then the wing could possibly overshoot you, go forward. You end up in the canopy, and then it's, good luck after that. So just a word of warning beforehand. Don't do this if you're completely inexperienced. Make sure you have a reserve. Do it up high. Be careful. Make sure you've got all the precautions in set. I don't think you necessarily need to have an SIV course under your belt. However, it wouldn't be a bad thing. It's a good place to practice this type of maneuver. It's mostly just an energy management thing. It's a lot of body language. It really depends on the glider that you're flying as well. So how much body language you have to put into it is going to be directly related to how loaded you are on the wing and what wing you're flying. So that being said, if you're on a beginner wing, it's going to take a lot of weight shift when you're going into your turns to try to help load the side of the wing that you're going to be turning. This will be a little bit easier to understand once I show you the video, hopefully. So when you start off, if you want to start by pulling left, if you want to go into it with the left-hand turn, that's usually how I go. So pull left brake, the wing will start to dive towards the ground, and then as soon as it does, as soon as it basically points towards the horizon, so your wing will come over, it'll start to point towards the horizon. That's your cue to let off your left brake. It'll start to pitch up. You're going to have to weight shift now to the right really hard. So you start off by leaning to the left. So your full weight shift to the left brake, pull, let the wing come over, goes down straight to the horizon, let up, let it start to swing a little bit. As you start to swing through the pendulum, right about here is where you start to apply a right-hand brake, and you're switching your weight shift to the right-hand side. Have that help kind of come up, and then basically, as soon as your body comes up to here, you could tell you're at the farthest point of your swing. That's when you're going to want to weight shift to the opposite side. So if you're coming in and you're going left, you're first leaning to the left, pulling left brake, wait for it. Okay, now you're going through your swing. As soon as you're at the highest point of your next part, you pull right brake, and you're on your weight shift to the right. And that comes down and through. Then as soon as that comes through, as soon as you're at the highest point, your opposite weight shift, that way you're ready for it. It helps to start loading the side of the wing that you're going to be pulling the brake on. And as this is happening, you also have to worry about your outside tip deflating. So you want to keep pressure on that brake as well. And this is something I'll show in the video. You can kind of see it. And I'll pause it and do some commentary throughout. That way it can kind of help explain it. I'm not a professional, just so you guys know. I can do them. I don't want to say I'm like amazing at them. I've taken lots of deflations. Usually the deflations aren't a big deal. I mean, it'll collapse. You'll get a little bit of a asymmetric frontal, and then it'll just open up, and that's that. It's not a big deal. But like I said, the biggest concern is don't chicken out halfway through. Otherwise, you could possibly pitch up really high, and then that shoots. That's the most dangerous thing you could possibly have happen. So worst case scenario, if you're starting to get too much energy, you're uncomfortable with it, you can try to just keep going smaller and smaller. Don't use as much weight shift. Don't pull as much brake, but you kind of have to pull as much brake as the energy that you have. So, because you have to be able to get yourself back into a safe zone. One thing you can do is if you've got lots of energy and you're diving in, and you're like, okay, I don't want to do this next one, pull the brake that's going to get you to go in the correct direction. You can go either direction. It doesn't really matter. But if you're trying to do a normal wing over, it would be the opposite of what you had just done. So if you were in the left, as soon as that starts to come up, once you get level, go right hard, right brake hard, and just hold it there for a while. and kind of try to almost do like a banking turn until you start to bleed off pressure, and then you start to let off that brake a little bit, and you should be able to come out fly straight. Now you might have to spiral a little bit. Don't feel too bad about that. Try to keep that wing just this direction. Don't get it pointed back down, because then you're just building energy again. So if you have to chicken out, your exit strategy, once you come flat, turn, bank it out until you can bleed off the energy, then come back out flat, fly straight. Okay, so that being said, here's the video. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll talk to you in just a second.
We're gonna do some wingovers to try to help part. We are on the Sirocco 22 meter. We've got some elevation. I'm gonna have to use some throttle because otherwise this motor will die, so.
All right, so getting right into this thing, I am leaning left and pulling left brake, as you can see.
Decent amount of brake, get it point down.
Okay, right here I am now leaning right and getting ready to pull right brake.
Switch, up and over.
Now I am pulling right brake, getting into this turn, still leaning to the right, waiting for the wing to point down towards the horizon. As soon as the wing gets closer to the horizon, I'll start applying left brake pressure just a little bit. You can almost kind of pump it. You want to feel to try to keep the left-hand side of the glider inflated.
Down.
At this point, I have gone as far as this turn is going to take me. I am beginning to shift my body weight to the left-hand side, and I am easing up the right brake, and I'm basically hands up on both sides at this point.
Switch.
I am now fully weighted on the left and pulling left brake to induce the turn. Right about here, I'm going to be applying right brake pressure to keep that side inflated.
Brake.
Now I've gone as far as my left-hand turn will take me, so I'm shifting my weight to the right.
Wait.
Just as I'm about to come through the bottom of my swing, I start to induce right brake. Okay, so on these turns, your outside brake is mostly just a pump. So when you're pulling your inside brake, you start to come up and you're going into your turn. As soon as that wing starts to come up and over, the outside of your outside tip is what you have to worry about. So your inside is the brake that you're pulling, and then your outside, you're just gonna almost kind of pump it. You just want to pull enough pressure. You can kind of feel how much pressure is easy to apply, and that's about what you want to do. Now as that wing starts to come down and you're starting to straighten out and level out, and you know you've had enough pressure, as soon as it starts to pendulum out, you're easing up on that brake just because you want to get as much energy possible. So you're going to be coming up on both brakes. So you'll be left brake going into the turn. As soon as it starts to come up and over, you're going to be pulling right brake to go down. As soon as you're at this point, you're coming up over, you're going up on both hands, you're swinging through, your weight shift is already to the other side, and then you're pulling the brake that you're doing, your right brake now, and as that comes up and over, as soon as this wing starting to point downward, you're going to be pumping the left brake, keeping that side inflated. That as you come in, you're coming back up on both brakes. You weight shifted to the left-hand side at that point already. You pretty much weight shift as soon as you get to the top of your pendulum. So I hope that shows up well in the video.
Pull. Brake.
So every time I'm saying pull, that is the brake on the inside of the turn. So in this case, it's the right-hand brake. When I say brake, I am talking about the left-hand brake, and that is just the pump that you're doing to keep that side inflated. So you can see the position I'm in. That's basically what you want.
Brake. Pull. Wait. Pull. Brake. Pull. Brake. Pull. Brake. Pull. Brake. Well, that's a nice big one. And bleed it off.
All right, so that's what I'm talking about right there. If you ever get yourself in a situation to where you're afraid to continue, you're going to want to turn it into a bank, just like I've done here, and kind of bleed out the energy.
There we go.
Alrighty, so this is the foot cam version. Possibly you can see my hands working a little bit better. I'll try to explain this as it goes along as well. Okay, really leaning in and pulling left brake to start the process. Shifting my body weight to the other side to get ready for the right-hand turn. You can see my left hand start to apply outside brake pressure to get ready for this next turn as I lean all of my body weight to the right and begin to pull right hand brake. I will say, looking back at this, it doesn't appear as if I pulled enough right hand brake, because you'll see the wing doesn't go up and over quite as much as I would have liked it to, and I have possibly just a little bit more outside brake than necessary as well. Swing through, shift weight, induce the turn with some brake, start to pull a little bit of outside brake, come up on both sides, shift the weight, induce your turn, pull some outside brake, shift weight, wait for it, induce the turn, touch of outside brake, shift the weight, induce the turn, touch of outside brake, shift weight. I've got to say, it's definitely easier to do the wingovers than it is to try to explain them. I hope you guys are kind of understanding it. I hope this is somewhat helpful. I will say you're better off erring on pulling brake too soon when you're coming through, when you're swinging through the bottom right here. You're better off turning too soon for your next turn than too late. And as far as getting a collapse, it's not generally that big of a deal if you don't have enough of your outside brake to keep the wing inflated. The usual cause is not enough body weight shift, and then not enough outside brake being applied. That's usually what will cause your collapse to happen. I'll show you what that looks like because I've done it multiple times. I'll let you watch through the rest of this. This is at full speed, so this is how fast everything's happening. And you would do a better job of weight shifting than I am, but I wanted to try to keep my GoPro looking at the right direction so you guys could see what's happening. And there I'm just bleeding off my turn. It's kind of a dance of both hands, as you could see there. That's something you might want to watch a second time if you're wanting to know some good energy management. It's a good way to help yourself so you don't get a frontal collapse. So this was me doing some wingovers on an Octane 2, which is a 25-meter glider, quite a bit bigger than something I'm normally flying. So you can hear me struggling as I try to throw in lots of weight shift, which is very key. See, you saw it deflate right there, not a big deal.
That's that partial deflation I was waiting for. Straight through the gate, up and over, straight through the gate, up and over.
And there I'm cheating with a little bit of throttle. It's something you can do if you feel like you're going to be too light on the wing and take a big collapse, but it's not something you want to learn to do often, just because it's not really good form.
Through it. Up and over. Beautiful. Up and over. Gorgeous. Up and over. Up and over. Keep an eye on Bart. Up and over. Straight. Up and over. Ah, it's exhausting. Up and over. And that will call it in.
I really just wanted to show you guys in these clips how uneventful a collapse can be, a deflation. It's not something you have to worry too much about. Just, try to keep them in check. It's a good learning experience when you get a little bit. It just means you need a little bit more of that outside brake to keep the thing inflated. But as you've seen, that I get a lot of them when I'm doing them in the beginning on these new wings and bigger wings and stuff. So nothing I'm telling you here applies to a sporty glider, or if it's a glider that you're really heavily loaded on. It will respond too much to your weight shift inputs, and it will induce the turn before you're ready for it. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're flying a sporty glider, basically all you have to do is use brake to initiate the turn, and barely, if any, outside brake to keep it from deflating. but like I said, you probably won't have to have any weight shift whatsoever. I do recommend learning these on a more beginner level glider because I think it's a good skill to have. It just applies to a lot of different situations that you might encounter while flying, as far as energy management and keeping your wing from collapsing and just different things along those lines. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully this was helpful for some people out there. I know I'm not a professional at this by any means. I've definitely improved since the wingovers that you see in this video. I'll probably try to do an updated version later on. If you guys want to see that, just let me know in the comments below. Please hit that subscribe button. That'd be super awesome. Maybe a thumbs up if you liked the video. If you want to see something else, just let me know, and I will talk to you guys later. Be safe, have fun.